very good morning to you, and thank you so much for tuning in to CAC TV, CAC Mid Morning, right here with me, Faith Kaulu. Today we have a very interesting discussion that I'd like you to be part of. I'd like to hear your views, and any questions you have, do leave them on the comment section below. We'll have a look with the panelists in studio with me, so that is CAC TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. Now, in studio this beautiful morning with me is Lucy Nyakio, a sexual and reproductive health advocate. Karibu sana. Wendy Akinyi as well, sexual and reproductive health advocate.
Yes.
Pleasure to have you this morning. And at the very far end, the only gentleman with us today is Walemba J, a HR consultant. Karibu. All right, and give you just a minute to tell us further what you do, what sexual and reproductive health advocacy is all about. We'll start with you, Lucy.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Faith, for having us here. So, as you've heard, I'm Lucy Nyakio. I'm a sexual reproductive health and rights advocate. And basically what that means is we advocate for every person to have access to reproductive health and rights as it is in the Constitution, as it's provided for in the Constitution. And I work with a community-driven organization called Youth Changes Kenya, and it focuses on young girls and young women and girls, adolescent girls, and we work around sexual reproductive health and rights. We provide information on the same. We also work with survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, and that entails providing psychosocial support, helping them access justice if they want to pursue that option. And also, we also work in the area of girls' education, especially focusing on teen mothers and reintegrating them back to school, providing them with psychosocial support, because it's not an easy thing to go back to school after being a teen mom, and the transition can be very difficult. Yeah. And we also are very focused on mental health. So having mental wellness programs, disseminating information on the same, also breaking myths around the same, and advocating for policies that reflect the situation on the ground in Kenya.
Okay, yeah. Great. Thank you for that. Wendy, you work together?
Yes, we are under the same organization. So she has already wrapped up everything. Yeah. So basically, I can't add more than that. So yeah, just second.
Yeah. All right, Jay, tell us what a HR consultant does. For our viewers, so that those who do not know are aware.
Good morning once again. Walemba J. I'm the CEO and founder of JCB's HR consultancy. We handle all matters related to HR, from policies, recruitment, training. We do the performance appraisals. So based on our topic today, my role as a HR consultant is just to talk about the policies that we put in place to be able to curb sexual harassment at the workplace.
All right. Now, today we are talking about workplace sexual harassment. I would want to say a hot topic at this moment. Yeah. I'd like us to begin by defining sexual harassment, what that is. Lucy, I'd want to ask you with that, and then Wendy will tell us what workplace sexual harassment is exactly. Lucy.
So basically, sexual harassment is any form of unwanted attention that is sexual, main part being unwanted. So it can range anything from verbal to non-verbal to physical. So it can be someone calling you on the street, or somebody grabbing you. It doesn't matter what that grabbing is. Like, it can be somebody sending you texts over and over again, asking you for a date, even when you've already said no. It can be all of that, and it can be manifested in many ways. And what I would like to also emphasize in this is that it can happen with everyone, and it can be woman to woman, it can be man to man, or vice versa. It can be male to female. So it does not matter gender. Sexual harassment does not recognize gender. As long as it is unwanted cases over and over again of sexual attention, then it is deemed as sexual harassment.
Thank you for bringing in the gender issue, because from experience and people who've shared with me their story, most men who share the story of workplace sexual harassment, people don't believe them, because they assume, how can you, be harassed sexually, yet you're a man, you're a guy, and I think we'll get to that. But Wendy, We're talking about workplace sexual harassment. So bring us into context.
Workplace sexual harassment doesn't mean that I have to get out of the workplace for me to be harassed. I bring in my CV, you want me something in exchange for that. After giving me work, you want for me to get my pay raised. Yes, yet I'm experienced. For me to get my pay raised, I have to give you something in return. That's already a sexual harassment as it is, because my experience is well known enough for me to be where I am. So why should I give you something in exchange for me to get something back? You understand? So also sending each other emails. My colleague has said it doesn't have to be physically only. It can be verbally. It can be via text. It can be however it is, it's still harassment, because I have not consented to it. I've already told you it's enough. I don't want this. So for you to keep on insisting, it means you're harassing me, and I've not said yes for it. So that's how I understand it.
So you could be an employee, you could not be an employee, but still experience workplace sexual harassment.
Yes.
Here comes a question: does it have to happen within the vicinity of the work?
No. It can also happen outside the work, because basically we are under the same. There are some harassments that do not happen during work. We are under the same organization or the same facility. We are working under the same place. Then since you see that you're pursuing me so much, and I can report you to the head, so you get out of work. So that if I come to report to the workplace, it's written, but you guys are out of work, you know. So that's also an harassment outside work premises, because I haven't consented unto it. That's a harassment.
Okay. I'd like to come to you, Jay. We're talking about workplace sexual harassment. Let me ask the role of the HR, the human resource, when it comes to such matters.
Now, sexual harassment is something that happens in our daily lives, and mostly at our workplaces. And people tend to say that when it happens outside work, just like Wenda said, someone will do maybe after 5. They still feel that's not workplace related, but it still is workplace related, because definitely when, for example, you are sexually harassing your junior or your senior, that thing will definitely affect their performance. So as long as it affects my work performance, it means it's workplace related, because you can't be saying someone who sexually harasses you, sends you explicit texts or sends you explicit photos, then still expect to perform the same way that you would have performed. So as HR now, this is where we come in, because in most cases, sexual harassment cases are not reported, or we find that we don't have the preferred mechanism to be able to report these issues. So people tend to, I've had several issues of people asking me that what they can do about it. Some even resign from their work because they are not able to be assisted, especially now with the HR departments. What I would say is that as a HR, there are so many gaps in terms of handling the sexual harassment issues in our workplaces. And it's something now, I think, because it is in the limelight now, we really need to have best ways to handle this.
Lucy, I see you agreeing to everything he's saying, and you're like, yes. Tell us about that.
So the reason I'm very much in agreement with what he's saying is we do know that most companies will protect themselves by having sexual harassment policies in place. You read these policies and they're really good. You know, they're convincing that there's a mechanism for you to follow. I will report to the supervisor. The supervisor will ask for, for an investigation to be done. But what happens when the person that is harassing you is the person that you're supposed to be reporting to? And what happens when the company or the organization that you're with is aware that this is happening, yet nothing is being taken, nothing is happening, there's no investigation, there are no actions that are being taken against these persons. And I don't know, for me, there is no justification for that. It does not matter how good you are at your job as a supervisor or as a manager. You sexually harass somebody, you're supposed to go. Action should be taken against you and not just you being fired, you know, because there's provisions for that. And so my thinking is that we have established a societal culture where sexual harassment is normal. Ask any woman if they've been sexually harassed without telling them what sexual harassment is. And they'd be like, no, you know, it's just a normal, somebody catcalls me or somebody grabs my ass on the street. You know, that's normal. But it is not. That is what sexual harassment is, and it happens. So until we change the culture and we hold people accountable, then there's never going to be change in this.
Yeah. Okay, I'd like us to start from... take us back a bit. We've talked about the policies. I really want to touch on that, but let me take us back to a lot of companies discourage relationships within colleagues. I'd come to you, Jay, to ask why is this so? Why do a lot of companies discourage relationships between colleagues?
Now, dating at the workplace, most companies will prohibit this because it will definitely affect the performance of the organization. And for an organization, there's what we call the organizational culture. So to be able to maintain a good organizational culture, we have now the policies that comes in now to guard this. So, for example, if we are dating, you are my direct reportee and I'm dating you, there are some things that I will not be able to really follow up when you make mistakes. So that will, in return, affect the performance of the organization. So operational excellence of the organization will really be determined now by our relationship. And when our relationship is affecting the organization, then it means that the company can now expel all of us. So dating at the workplace is prohibited. Yeah.
Other than just that, Wendy, other than just, you know, caring about work, you being able to deliver, the awkwardness that comes with dating a colleague, could we say that, you know, having relationships within colleagues encourages sexual harassment tendencies in the workplace?
Yes and no. Because for me, I can say no because we are here. For example, I met you before we joined the company.
Yeah.
So what you have your own aim, I have my own aim, right? So we are going there for achieving different goals.
Yeah.
When we come out of the house, people have their own ways. When we come back, we are couples. But when we are out there, we are not couples. You understand? So it wouldn't affect my performance, basically, because maybe you applied for the job at a different time, I applied at a different time. We didn't know we were working for the same organization. Then we end up in the same organization. In Kenya right now, economy is bad. We're going to look for money or we're going to date.
Yeah.
It's realistically. Yeah. So yes, also, because I'll be lenient in my love partner. You understand? So I won't have to, the same way I'm going to treat others, I won't treat you the same.
That's for sure.
It will start having competition and people will start seeing this and it will lead a lot, it will bring up a lot of things in the organization that will make this organization fall. So it can be in both way, in a positive way and in a negative way.
Great.
And maybe just to add something on that, you know, for it to be sexual harassment, it must be unwanted or unwelcome. So if we are lovers at the workplace and maybe we start maybe touching each other, that is not sexual harassment. Yeah.
Now, okay, great. The reason why I get to you, Lucy, the reason why I took us there is because then if a guy approaches me and I turn them down and they persist and I report them to the HR, let me give that example, then you as the HR, how do you differentiate, okay, now this is sexual harassment or this is just a genuine guy who wants to win a lady and he's not giving up, you know, he's persisting?
No. As a HR, what I'll do is I'll have the two sides of the story. Then the victim should provide the evidence for her being sexually harassed. If it's something maybe that we can follow up maybe on the CCTV that are in the organization, we can use that to monitor if she's claiming that she's been touched, such things. Or if it's messages, then she'll have to provide the messages for this. Then I'll also now talk to the guy that is chasing the lady, then listen to his story as well, then advise him on the best ways maybe now to cope up with the colleague. If she's someone that has told him no, immediately someone reports you to the HR, it means that they don't want this. And at that point, I'm sure that it's affecting their performance. If the guy still insists, it will still affect their performance. So as a HR now, we should have a policy in place that talks about now work-related relationships. So if we have a policy on work-related relationships, now with these policies, what we need to do is that we need to have often training, occasional trainings, whereby now, and we make the policies available to accessible to every employee in the organization. So there are those policies that will affect, there are those policies that are affecting us on a day-to-day basis, but there are those other policies that maybe will affect us maybe termly or occasionally. But there are policies like sexual harassment. That is something that we need to talk about. Maybe if it's an organization, we should have a calendar whereby we are doing, we're doing like trainings after every 2-3 months, just to make sure that people understand the policies. So if it's within the company policies, you need to tell the guy about the implications of insisting on sexually harassing this lady. If it means that if the policy stipulates for termination or a warning letter, you need to serve the guy with that. Yeah.
Lucy, you had wanted to say something.
Yes. So I think first I'd like to pick something that he said about it is my job as the victim to provide the evidence. Yeah. So I'm already disadvantaged by the fact that I am the one who's experiencing the harassment. The company policy says that it will do an investigation, but I am the one who's tasked with doing this investigation and providing the evidence, and it goes to it's my word against his word kind of situation, and sometimes the evidence is provided, but then it's stamped as insufficient, which comes to the question of what you're asking. When is it genuine and when is it not genuine? The moment that I said no, people need to understand that I am an adult, I am capable of determining whether or not I want to go out with you. So the moment I say no and you ask me again and I say no yet again, then that has crossed the border into, or from genuine interest to now you're sexually harassing me, you know. And it shouldn't be my job to provide the evidence that I am being sexually, whatever it was just verbal. We were having tea at the kitchen, and this guy asked me out, should I be recording conversations all the time so I have evidence to provide? You know, there has to be something in place that comes to that, because then we place too much expectation on somebody who's already experiencing psychosocial issues because of this aspect, but we want them to go an extra mile. Okay, you said it, but last time you didn't have evidence, so now this time record the conversation, or do this, I record it, then it's not sufficient.
Yeah. Wendy, let's talk about the issue of providing evidence, because I hear Lucy out, but we also know we've had, however rare, but cases of people who claim to be victims of sexual harassment, but they're not. So let's talk about this issue. How important is the evidence? Having in mind, it's quite difficult. You're not always recording conversations or video recording someone. Let's talk about the whole issue of providing evidence.
One thing you should always know is a victim that has been sexually harassed is already traumatized at the moment. So basically, the more you pursue on evidence and everything, he or she is already traumatized. So the more you're pressing and you're pressing, you're adding trauma to this victim. You understand? So basically, the organization, there are reasons why CCTVs are provided. There are reasons why in each and every desk we have, it's called, I don't know if other organizations have it, but there's a tiny thing that every department, the department of media, ama wale wa CCTV wa uangalia. So when you're there, they provide that. Already that's information enough. You yourself as an organization, you'll know if this is genuine or not. How many times has this victim come to report this? Okay. the first time did you ask for evidence? If you swept it away, that's already a problem as an organization. So if she comes, or he comes the second time, look into it. Don't ask for something that you believe can't be there, honestly. I'm a human being. I have other businesses to do. I can't keep on checking evidence from this person. This is an adult. You are an adult. You know if this person is lying or not. That's why we have, in every institutions, we have counseling moments. And we have mental discussions every month. So you'll know, basically, the counselors are there for a reason. They'll tell you if this person is lying, if this person is not. So stop making the victim to stigmatize himself or herself. That's already enough trauma as it is.
We're talking about evidence, of course, investigation. I'd like to come to you, Jay. When a HR or the HR department is carrying out investigation, they received a case, let me put it that way, and they're investigating. What do you include as, or what do you count as evidence? What should someone bring? And also, what other things do you look at?
Now, in cases where we have sexual staff or there's a victim of sexual harassment, if you have evidence in terms of text messages or emails, I think that will be very tangible, because it will be able to have a hearing with the accused. Now, on the other hand, I think what Lucy and Wendy have said about evidence, the HR is not pushing anyone for the evidence, but what is happening is that we cannot implicate someone on something that is not evident. So, assuming we take action against an accused person without evidence, this person might sue the company, the organization, because of lack of evidence. Now, any decision that a HR needs to make in an organization, it must be proved by evidence. So you'll always ask for evidence, so that now, when organizations are sued, the first person to go to court is the HR profession for the organization. And now it's as the HR, we have to do everything as per the policy and the Employment Act. You know what the policy, the Employment Act provides for is the minimum. So we, as the HR people in the organization now, are the people that now we provide the good practices. So by having these good practices, we need now to have them in the policies. So we always need to follow the policy. If a policy talks about investigations, we need to do the investigation, yes. But the victim now should also provide us with evidence or help us in the investigation process to be able now to implicate the person that is accused. Yeah.
If we're being genuine, a lot of companies would like to protect the name of the company. They'd like to safeguard what people think of CAC TV. We don't want someone to say, hey, Faith Kaulu was harassed at CAC TV. They'd rather not. They'd rather maintain this image of CAC TV that people have or its viewers have. And I want us to talk about what really happens. Why is this the case? Why is it so hard, to take this one person and tell them, what you did is wrong, so we're going to get rid of you, and maybe file a case and hire someone who's going to uphold the standards of the company?
Now, as I've said before, in most cases, most companies have what you call the gaps. Now, what I mean by the gaps is that the policies are not inclusive of the investigation procedures and the complaint handling procedures as well. So what happens is that you report this case, the reporting line is not definite in most companies. Like for now, what was happening in the just concluded documentary is that these people on the ground, the HR maybe is in the Nairobi office. How will you communicate to that HR? And sometimes you'll find that the information is shared on the ground, and then there's one person that's responsible for sharing this information with the management. So where the gap starts is that a good number of employees do not even know what some of the policies that are in the organization. They don't have access to these policies. That is the first problem. So when they are faced with these issues, Lucy talked about some people even not understanding what sexual harassment is. That is very true. because most people will feel that it's something that is normal. Amekuguza tu akapita. But it's sexual harassment. But people do not understand it as sexual harassment. So people need to understand, have training first on what is sexual harassment. They need to have that understanding. Then they need to have they need to understand ways of presenting it. If it's reporting it in terms you are affected by such circumstances, how do you report it? So we have gaps in reporting. We have gaps in training these employees on understanding sexual harassment and how it should be reported. So what we need to deal with first is address these gaps. Yeah, I'm sure because it has happened now and it was broadcasted, I'm sure so many companies now are coming up with ways on how to address the gaps, so that now employees can be informed about the gaps and about what it entails sexual harassment policy. Yeah.
But I wish we didn't have to get to a place where, you know, it's exposed and now a lot of companies are running, trying to get things, what can I say, well in their house. Yes, Wendy?
I wanted to ask why wait while it's already happening, you know? Why wait and you can already remove it while you're seeing it? You can handle a matter that you're seeing right now, but you're waiting for another company to show us. Why?
Now, what basically most cases, and I think it's in our blood for us Kenyans. We talk about prevention being better than cure, but in 90% of us, we will wait for, we'll work with the cure rather than the prevention. That is what is happening. We only come actively to address an issue when it has already happened. That is what is happening in Kenya. I don't know about the other world, but in Kenya, that is what is happening. So, in most cases, people have been reporting these things. I've had several people come to me and they're like, Jay, I'm being sexually harassed at my workplace. What should I do? The first question I'll ask, have you talked to the HR? They say that I've talked to them twice, nothing is happening. So in such instances, I cannot go to that organization to advise the organization what they should do, because they have a policy that is in place to guide them on this. So if the HR person is the person maybe condoning this, how will this person now survive? So the only way out is for the person now to exit. So now, because Lucy reported it was not handled, Wendy knows that Lucy reported it wasn't handled. Will Wendy go and report? She won't go to report. So now, this is what has been happening, because one person reported it wasn't, and no action was taken. The second, third, and fourth person will not go. So now they'll die with this issue. And that's what has been happening. But now, because it has happened, because Lucy reported and it wasn't taken, no action was taken, now Wendy can come up and say that I reported this and it didn't happen. Yeah. So now the HR person should be responsible for not following up on what happened. And in most cases, I think this is a failure on the HR part. Okay. Most of the HR will get into the organizations. They find existing policies. They don't. What happens is that they'll not update the policy, review and update the policies to meet the current changes or the current trends in the market. Yeah. So that is also a gap that we need to address.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Lucy.
I think I'd like to. The question that you asked was about why it's a continued issue.
Yeah.
To a very big extent, I would like to disagree with that. It's an issue that has just come up. The fact that the BBC documentary has shed light on it does not mean that it's now is when we know that it's happening. Because it has been going on for a while. The fact that it has not blown up in the news as big as it has right now does not negate that fact. So organizations are aware. When you look at different spaces, I was watching the documentary this morning, and it's disturbing to see that the people report to the gender. There's a gender desk. You know, there's a way to address this. But what happens? The information that you're given is you should stand by your principles and continue to say no. And the counseling department is going to call you to advise you on how to continue and how to deal with it. It is not on me to not be sexually harassed. You know, it is not my responsibility to protect myself from sexual harassment, because my protection is what? Me saying no. But then if I say no and it's not respected, then that's beyond me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big gap. When I started, I think I talked about the fact that we have, as a society, we have normalized a lot of things. We've normalized rape culture. We have normalized sexual harassment as something that happens. You're an adult. Just deal with it. It's not a big deal, you know. And that has to change before we can place this whole burden of on companies to exit everything, to manage everything. It has to start at that organizational level, yes. But we have a duty as a society to also make sure that this is a conversation that is ongoing. This documentary will stay on the news for a while. It's #2 in trending. It's gonna go to #10, and at some point it's gonna end. And how many organizations and companies are going to have acted simply because this documentary has come out? Very few. I can be very sure to say that it's very few that will come, because then we have not changed the culture. Until that culture changes, then policies will come in place, you know, but they will not be implemented. So I seriously disagree with the fact that this documentary is going to change a lot of organizations until we can actively take a role, until these organizations, because then it's just, you know, the organization mentioned that Unilever, it's going to, maybe they will take action, you know, but what about all the other organizations in other industries that are not mentioned? This is just the tea factory, you know. What about media? What about manufacturing? What about other businesses? You know, what happens in those fields because they're not being focused on? Do they change? Do they feel that this affects them?
Wow. I think thank you for putting it, I think, very well. It's not my responsibility to ensure that I'm not sexually harassed. It does not lie on me. I don't need to stand firm. If I've said no, I think that's enough. My no is no. Take it and go. Jay, you want to say something?
No, as what you said, I think we always have that climax time with the issues at the workplace, or basically as a country. Now, I think it's also, as a HR, as much as we'll try cover the gaps that we have in terms of policies, it's up to now also as the victims, or us as employees, also to take to be active in maybe reporting this to the HRs now. Now, HR, I cannot start doing investigation before you report to me, right? So you have to report to me so that now we can be able to start following the investigation process. And another thing is maybe now as employees, maybe we'll need to have organizations need to come up with I think mechanisms now to be able to address issues in terms of training. Have employees go through the policies before they join the organization, because this is something, for me, I've been employed in I think 2-3 organizations, and at no point I was able to be given the policies to go through. So most of the things that are happening in organizations, we as employees do not have access to the policies. So you don't understand. Some employees will only come up with the issues on how to handle a case or maybe termination after it has affected them. We don't know what the policy about termination talks about. Wakati tunapata ile barua appointment, we'll only look at the salary and maybe the leave days. The other things we don't give. The same thing that happens when you're taking loans, we don't read the terms and conditions. Sababu umepata ile pesa, you just move on. So that the same thing happens when employees are receiving offer letters. We don't the HR department doesn't serve us with the policies to be able now to acquaint ourselves with what is going to happen in the organization. In case I go astray, what will happen in this scenario. So HR department needs now to have the trainings, the training calendar updated now, just to be able to ensure that employees are communicated to in terms of the policies, especially policies that are affecting them mostly, this sexual harassment policy. Yeah. And there are specific, also there are very specific industries that these people suffer in terms of sexual harassment. And it should be, I know the industries know, the people in those industries know this well, and it should be well addressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Wendy, I'd like to come to you. We're talking about sexual harassment. Lucy touched on texting. Jay, you mentioned about, touching. Let's talk about the different ways sexual harassment can manifest or look like at the workplace.
Sexual harassment. We as human beings, we don't understand the difference between sexual assault and sexual harassment. First of all, you should tackle by understanding I've been harassed, I haven't been assaulted. Assaulted is when you're like someone has physically forced you into doing something without your consent. Harassment is like when this person is physically or verbally abusing you, but it hasn't reached to a point that he has pinned you down. He's just spanking you, walking by, giving you signals, texting you, sending you emails. That's sexual harassment. When you get to identify the difference between these two things, then you'll get to understand how to tackle them. Because assault has gone to an extent whereby you're being raped now without the consent. Are you going to say that I'm okay now? It has moved from harassment to assault. Are you okay now being the way I am? I'm okay. I'll give it in. It's not right. So we should also tackle by understanding the difference between the two first,
right?
And make sure that your clients, at your workplace, your people understand the difference between these two things, so that when they come to report to you, they don't report something that they don't know. This person comes and says, I have been assaulted. How have you been assaulted? That assault is already a big word. You might be criminalizing this person, and maybe he or she has just harassed you, which can be stopped. Assault has already happened, can't be stopped. It's happening. You're a victim. You have been raped. He or she must have consequences onto that. So that's
okay. The conversation here is all about, when you say no, but this individual still persists. I'd like to take us back to the documentary, because I believe a lot of people have had access to it and watched it. And a lot of the women gave in willingly because they had no option. It's either lose your job or have sex with this person. And you decide, okay, let me do it because I have to fend for my kids. I have to take my kids to school. At this point, you've done it willingly. You've said yes. Of course, you do want to, but you've said yes. So I want us to talk about this. You are put in a position where you have to say yes because you can't say no.
I'd like to start.
Sure.
So I'd like to start by asking the question of what is a choice? And I believe that a choice is when I can have an option of different things and not have consequences if I do not choose what I am being told to choose. If you're putting me in a position of it's either I have sex with you or I lose my job, that is not a choice. I am not going into this willingly. This is not consensual. Just to be very clear, I am being coerced into this position because there's no choice for me, And if the choice was you can have sex with me and get a promotion, or you still won't have, if you don't have sex with me, you'll still get your promotion. I think we need to understand the point of sexual harassment, and a lot of sexual abuse comes from a position of power. It's associated with a lot of power, and especially in the workplace. We're talking about the documentary, and in the documentary, this harassment and assault and abuse is coming from supervisors, your direct line supervisor, your manager, the divisional managers. This is not, as a person who is an employee or as a person who is looking for a job, I am not in a position of power, which means I do not have the choice of being, okay, I will not have sex with you because I do not want to, and that's the end of it. It's either I have sex with you and have a job, that you will continue to sexually exploit me for me to get the benefits that I deserve as an employee, or I don't have sex with you and I don't have a job. All the women in that documentary were talking about, I had to sleep with him because I have kids. a woman in the story said, I thought of killing myself, but I thought my kids are going to suffer for nothing. And it's not suffering for nothing. That touched me because it's not suffering for nothing. This woman is in a state of constant trauma and going back into the space that has traumatized her and reporting to the person who continues to assault her. You get?
Yeah.
So when we talk about the aspect of coercion and the aspect of, I will put it quote unquote willingly, because it is not willingly. This person is coerced into being in a space that they do not want to be in. Until it is a choice that I can make without having consequences for it, then it is not a choice. And also that comes back to, I was looking at how these women, you get the job, yes, but then you have to sleep with your direct line supervisor to get easier tasks, right? That is basically, you sleep with somebody so you can get the next level of the job. And that brings to the aspect of the conversation that people always have, women sleeping to the top. It is not about a woman sleeping to the top. It is about you as the person who is in charge exploiting me for something that I deserve. So it is not my job. I am not the one who is doing the wrong thing in this situation. Because you hold the position of power. I can get this promotion. I deserve this promotion.
Yeah.
So you hold it in your hands and tell me, for you to get this, you have to sleep with me. Is that sleeping to the top? Or is it exploitation?
Wow. I want to come to you, Jay, but let us take a very short break. When we come back, we'll look at, how difficult is it or easy, you let us know. Such a case, Lucy has told us you don't have a choice, so you haven't said yes. But here's a case presented to you, and the person who's accused say, but you didn't tell me no, But when you look at the situation, this person had no choice. We touch on that after this very short break. Of course, do keep interacting with us on our social media pages. That is CAC TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube.
Are you looking to grow your business? CAC TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@cactv.org or call 011 00 90647.
We start a program that helps us to go on a journey to get to understand the ministers who are now retired, who spent most of their life in the pulpit and now are in the pew listening to others continue with the work of ministry.
I have retired from now employment, the formal employment, but I have not expired.
We get onto a journey to understand their experiences and the things that they have gone through, the journey of their lives that can be helpful to those of us that are still in active ministry. And we can tap from their wealth of experience so that we can know how to continue with the work of ministry.
Even the ministers we have today, I would like them to know there is today and tomorrow.
Greetings to all of you who watch CAC TV programs. I send you Christian love and peace from all the CAC family and the entire ministry. Since God gave us this CAC TV, which is a very
All right, welcome back, and thank you so much for keeping it CAC mid-morning. And still with me is Lucy Nyakil, Wendy Akinyi, and Walemba Jane. We're talking about workplace sexual harassment. So in case you have any questions or comments, leave them at our comment section below. That is CAC TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, and we will have a look at them. Right about now, Jay, I'd like to come back with you. Lucy left us with a banger, you know, and I'd like to ask what can I say, what is the genuine way for her child to be able to ensure that they have protected a victim when they come saying or claiming that they have been sexually harassed in a case where they were presented with no choice but to give in? So they didn't say no because there was no, they couldn't pick a no. They had to give in and say yes.
Now, based on the fact that it was conditional. Now, it was they were given this. Someone approached them on condition that you'll get this favor when you are sexually harassed. That is sexual harassment based on the fact that it's conditional. It's you are doing this on condition that you get a job, or doing this on condition that you get a promotion. So that is sexual harassment in the first place. So as a HR person, now you need to get facts right in terms of why she didn't say no, she said yes, right? Why did she say yes? What were the circumstances under which she said yes? So you need now to, your investigation needs to start at that point. You need to start, ask the victim under which conditions she had to say yes, then which approach the accused used now to harass the victim. So another thing is, as a HR now, we need to come to that on the ground and have ways on which I think I will blame the recruitment strategy for that organization, because the HR people now should be the people that are doing the promotions, doing the performance appraisal, and then hiring the staff for these organizations. But giving it to someone who is not HR now, because most of the people that have been accused are not in HR. They're people just, they're the managers or the supervisors on the ground. They are giving these jobs wrongly, because if it's an organization that has a well articulated HR structure, the HR structure now should be able now to be able to hire employees for the organization. So they should not let people on the ground hire these employees. So that is a gap that the organization now should have covered. But because it didn't cover, that is now when the issue of sexual harassment came in. Why it's that the HR was hiring people who are qualified for this job, having the jobs advertised, shortlist, long list, shortlist, then do the recruitment, the interview process, then the recruitment. I think it could have been different. But someone who is not qualified to recruit is the person now recruiting. So his main qualification for recruitment or for hiring was sexually harassing the people that are looking for these jobs. So I will blame the system of the organization in terms of hiring. So as a HR, I will start by getting to know the main cause of what happened to have this person sexually harassed. Then because the accused had to ask for some favors, that is now something that we should have in the policy now on how to handle this.
Wendy, I'd like to bring you in. I want you to talk about the power dynamics, because in most cases it's always a senior and a junior. and the senior puts the junior staff or employee in a position where makes them vulnerable. Let's talk about that.
I think these people feel they're entitled to you, because I've already found you as a manager. I'm coming to seek for an opportunity. It's not that I haven't qualified for this position. I am 100% qualified. Alafu, the fact that I am in need makes you think that you can take advantage of the situation. It's not that way. I'm here to seek for work. Yeah. Let's do work. Don't take advantage of the situations, basically, because you see like I am in need of this thing, emergency. People tend to do that because they feel like they're superior to you and you won't do anything. I think the company and the policies have been there. They have been read. Like my colleague said here, the first manager read the policies unto them, and he is the same person who took advantage of the employees. The policies have been there. The managers will still be there. But you as a company, you as a CEO of that company, how are you going to take these people accountable for this issue? Is he or she going to always take advantage because these people are in need of these positions? Or are you going to replace them and bring for us people who know what they're doing in their work premises? Yeah. Are you going also to talk to these junior people to make them not feel like they're vulnerable? They are in so much need that they have to give it into them. It's a matter of power. Mm-hmm. And when the CEOs and the owners of these companies sit down and analyze this is the thing that is happening, and these people feel that like they're superiors unto their juniors, yeah, then they'll find a better way to tackle the situation. Okay. It always starts from the top. So if the top person can notice the tiny gaps, it will be easier for the people who are down here to handle the situation. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just to highlight an issue that has almost been normalized, and this is the issue of attachees or young adults looking for internship. And we've had these stories, this young girl is going out to the manager, nataka mbaba, or and looking at this scenario or at these cases, I want us to talk about them. Is this a form of sexual harassment, or could this be a genuine case where then that is none of our business, whatever is going on? If this young lady, if this young gentleman is going out to the manager, let's not involve ourselves in that. Lucy?
That is an interesting scenario. Mm-hmm. So my take on this is that cases are different. But I think I'll go back to what Jay had said earlier about policies in the workplace and what that looks like, and the fact that in most organizations and companies, dating in the office is frowned upon and even prohibited. So in this case and in this scenario, the issue of wababa and wamama is a normal thing in Kenya at this point. Does that make it something that we should just let go? Absolutely not, because there's need to understand from what perspective is this relationship based on. I am an intern at an organization and I am going out with the manager. What are the dynamics of that relationship? What power do I have as the intern compared to what power this manager has? Especially if it is in the same work environment. This person has the capacity to hire or fire me, or it puts me in a very awkward position. So am I acting from a position of power? No. Does that constitute the fact that I am being taken advantage of? I'd say yes. Mm-hmm. So I think the dynamics of relationships are very important to understand, and especially predation, sexual predation is a big thing. Mm. And as much as we want to make it look at the relationships of people with their sponsors, I'm talking about relationships that are transactional in this case, yeah, and not a transactional relationship in the fact that I'm a sex worker and I am getting paid for sex. that has no problem. That is my job as a sex worker. But in the case where I have to give something for something else, and I am put in a position where I am the one who is in less power, that my choice is like, I go back to my statement of what choice do I have? If saying no to this relationship constitutes a disadvantage to me, then that is in a position of I cannot say no.
Yeah.
Then that constitutes harassment. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Wendy.
I have a scenario.
Sure.
So the scenario happened the same way you're saying about an internship. There was way back then. So this intern, it's just a story. This intern was working in a facility, in a hospital facility. So there's this radiographer. So the intern used to take files in the morning. It's a protocol. You go pick files at the OPD and take the files to the patient's wards. So when you're going to do runs, you normally bring the patients that are supposed to be given X-ray, like radiography, the patients who are being transferred to German to go be done MRI and other things, I'm sorry. So this scenario happened that this gentleman had admired this person for a while. And when this girl was going to pick the files in the morning, then this person calls her in the office. Hi, can you come? There's this patient we have. I need to see this patient right now. So normally when you're an intern and a medical intern, you're told to wear your uniforms when you're going for attachments or internships. So you're wearing your little tunic and your lab coats. You look nice according to you. You feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So you enter the office, then this gentleman starts touching you. You move back first, then ask, where is the file? I've come here for the file. And you're not being appropriate at what you're doing. But he says, but you're pretty. You see, I haven't given a consent for this thing. Why are you touching me? So he continues with the same manner. He continues doing the same thing. But since you don't have an option as an intern, you won't go to report. Because you're there for the experience. Alafu, you always, in the back of your head, you normally say, I have a time limit here, then I leave.
Yeah.
So it continues, it continues, it continues. So at this time, this guy says, can I have your number? You just give him, because at the end of the day, your attachment period is almost over. So you give him the number. He calls, he said, you want a meetup. Then you go meet this person up, because he has already promised you after internship you're going to get a job. I'm a desperate student. What do you expect? I'll go meet this person. I've gone, met him in a lovely bar. We have some few drinks, eats nyama choma and few stuff. This guy starts touching me. This guy starts being all over the place. That's already, the harassment escalated from the beginning. This person knew it's okay. But since I am an intern, I don't have the right to go report. I am a desperate student. It's either I give it in and get everything I want, or else this internship ends. Because they won't believe the intern. The intern is always wrong. It's either these students wants money or wants some baba. You understand? This person is not there for that. I'm there for the experience, then leave. But he has already shown me that I can get my way out of this. So I took the easier way. But the easier way has consequences. Because it's led to a point you're not responding to texts, you're not responding to messages, you block this person. Then after your attachment and internship, you go back to the facility, they refuse to give you your final papers. Because apparently the person went and reported that you were being all over him. It's another scenario out of a scenario. However, it's a matter of power. They feel like I have the power over these interns. I have the power over this attaches. What are they going to do? I'm earning my money at the end of the day. I won't be fired. They're here for experience. So whatever I'm showing them, they must do. I feel like as a facility or as an organization or as whatever you're coming up with as a company, handle the people with respect. I'm here for an experience, let it be experience. Let's be professional.
Yeah.
Don't take advantage of the situation since you see I am not worth or I am here begging. It's not right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Jay.
I think I'll handle it from this point. What we need to do, I still, being a HR is, you have to understand every aspect of the organization. Whether it's in manufacturing, you need to go look at what they're doing. You can even have someone ask you about the machines, what the machines do. You need to have that information. So the same way, even in a hospital setup, you should understand what happens on the ground as well. So for me, I'll blame the interns for that because I know we'll disagree with Lucy, but for me, as a HR person, understand that when interns join the organization, unless there's no proper structure to have the interns inducted and oriented to the organization. So what happens when new employees come in, they're inducted and oriented to the just to understand the organization culture and everything that happens in the organization. So this is the time that you need to take people through the policies. The same way, the interns are partly like your employees, because there are some interns that will do something that they'll do some roles that really have an impact on the organization. So when they mess the organization. So they should be treated as employees for that period they are in the organization, whether it's 6 months or 3 months. So interns should understand the policies of the organization, and they should have they should be taken through each policy just to understand what happens and how, if there are any mechanisms to report in case issues like sexual harassment happens. And I know this is something that happens. People in HR will know, people in other departments will know as well. That sexual harassment is something that happens, especially for interns when they come in the organizations. And because it happens, it should be a key area of focus for HRs when interns are coming in. So that for me, I'll blame an intern who is there, because an intern, I don't think they should be so desperate in terms of getting this experience. You can move from organization A to organization B and have that experience. So your dignity will matter in this scenario. So if you're giving in because of the experience, I think I've had interns that I've had people that have gotten internships even after 5 years, and they've done it. So I really believe that your dignity will come first, and always look up at your integrity as a person. Personally, I think I was looking for internship after I had worked for 11 years. Yeah. I don't see any problem with you quitting the internship. If the HR cannot help you, you quit the internship, look for internship in another organization. There are so many organizations that can give you that experience with a good environment, working environment for you to succeed. So, personally, as a person, what does your integrity talk about? What does your self-esteem talk about? Yeah. Now, you are a personal brand. Have that stand and say that for me, if it's someone that has children, like what happened in the documentary, I'll say that is okay. But 90% of the interns are people that are still maybe under their parents, or people that can still manage to survive even without the internship, because in most cases the internship and attachments are not paying. Yeah.
I think we're not focusing on the real issue here, because we're looking at the victim. What I'm getting is you're trying to blame the victim. Yet the real issue is this manager, is this boss, who actually doesn't have what you are calling self-dignity. Yeah. Yes.
So the boss, if the boss is the one that is harassing the intern, then the intern should report this matter to the HR and have the HR handle the issue.
Yeah. May I respond?
Sure.
Because this, I'm burning. So the first statement is, I would blame the intern. I think I'll keep on emphasizing this. We are normalizing what should not be normalized. You're saying that it is my job as an intern to report. Up to that point, I have no problem. Consider the fact that, though, what does reporting look like for me as an intern? And I know you've already said that there's many organizations that are going to offer this attachment, but I need you to look at this from a very realistic perspective. I am a fresh graduate. That is what I am. And attachment is not easy. Finding an attachment, let alone internship, finding an attachment is not easy. In my class, we were over 350 students. That's just my class. How many of us were looking for these internships and attachments? And how many of us got them? I didn't get an attachment. You get? So it is not an easy thing to say I can just quit one and go to another in which I might be subjected to the same. And then I have quit this position and another intern will come who will be subjected to the same. You have to look at it from a perspective of, like I said earlier, it is not my job to make sure that I am not sexually harassed. We are saying we're blaming the intern, and I think you're coming from a perspective of what HR should do, but can we also address what HR is doing? What if this harassment is coming from the HR department? Then what happens in that position? Because the HR department is also in a position of power, a lot of power, right? So when we shift blame to the intern and not address the real issue here, this guy, like she had said, this guy went and reported this intern and said she came on to me, after she had denied him over and over again and gotten to the point of, I can no longer even answer the texts or calls, I have blocked this person, I do not have the mental capacity to deal with it, even though I convinced myself that I would be able to do it. So this person has decided, okay, if this person has blocked me, then that means when she's coming for her papers, she's definitely going to address this as an issue. Maybe she'll definitely address it, and if it's addressed, then I am the one who is in the black light. So what do? I go ahead of it and report that the reason this person is not here yet is because they came on to me and I said no. You're the person, the supervisor in the position of power. You've already given this person a lot of trauma, and then now you have blocked all the ways for this person to get what they need from your organization simply because you're trying to protect yourself. We cannot shift blame to victims all the time. We should not shift blame to victims at any time. It is your job as the HR department or as your organization, if you do not have a HR department, it is your job to investigate this. Like I said, it is your job to investigate this and determine how did this happen, in what position. You said when a victim reports, the HR department needs the victim to provide receipts, right? Like we call it. But now the supervisor has reported and you've taken their word for it. What does that look like? And when we're talking about dignity and I need to remember my self-esteem and my dignity, we're all very different human beings. You know, what my experience, maybe I could choose to report it and I could be able to handle the reporting and the process of it. It does not mean I want to be traumatized with it, but I might be able to report it. She might not be able to do the same, or another person. And what about cases of, because this is a normal issue, what about cases of I've reported in the past and nothing happened? Do you think I'll have the same confidence in the justice system that was not supportive of me in the first place? And to address another point, people are desperate. We are living in a country that the economy is failing on a constant basis. Inflation is rising. As a person who is in their 20s and who is graduating, I do not have the time to wait until my 30s to have an internship. We do not all come from families where support is constantly there. The moment I am done with this, I have to be able to support myself. So this shift of blame all the time to victims needs to stop. You keep on talking about organizations and the policies, then let the policies work. Let the organizational culture change. But blaming victims is definitely out of the question.
I think I can respond to that.
Sure, Jay.
I think what I said is that what if the intern could have reported first before this guy, she went to the extent of meeting this guy outside the workplace. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it could have been a different story. So that's why I've said that the intern, for me, that's why the word blaming comes in, because the intern could have reported first. If she could have reported first, possibly the HR could have handled it. And don't think it could have reached to a point whereby now she's getting to meeting this guy outside the place. And by the time she's meeting this guy, she already has evidence, because I think there was communication. Yeah? There was this communication. So that communication all along was the right evidence to bring to the HR to be able to handle this.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the BBC documentary. The investigative journalist who went undercover underwent a lot of sexual harassment.
Yeah.
She went to the department that she was supposed to report to, and she reported it, and she showed evidence of text messages. She recounted the accounts in detail. What was she told? To stand by her principles and say no. So what confidence are you telling me as the intern? And like I said, I might be able to report it because I would. Somebody else might not. So what confidence does this person have? For people who watch the documentary, who are working in that environment, what confidence do they have of, I reported it, nothing happened? Is she going to report the same?
Yeah, as I said, I think I said it won't happen. She won't report, yeah, because it's been happening. But now, I talked about the gaps now in the HR department for that organization.
So realistically, nothing is going to happen even if I report it.
Yeah, if there are gaps, then definitely nothing will happen. So those gaps are what we need now to address.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want us to talk about a different scenario because you have people who are not able to express themselves well. So this individual is making advances towards me. I do not want to, but I can't say no. Maybe because I'm shy, maybe because I don't know how to act towards this. In such a case, what can we advise such an individual? You know, because you've talked about us being different, handling situations different, and it has just made me realize that we have, I'd say, ladies as well as guys who want to say a no, but they don't know how to. You know, what would you say, Lucy? Then we'll come to you, Wendy.
So, first of all, I think I'd like to talk about consent. When it comes to somebody who is a survivor of sexual harassment, sexual gender-based violence of any kind, the support that we can offer from this side is psychosocial support, because there is nothing that I can do. Like I said before, it's not my job to protect myself from sexual harassment. The aspect of consent is an enthusiastic yes. An enthusiastic yes is when I understand the situation, I am consenting to this and this and that. You ask me out on a date, I consent to going to that date. I have not consented to anything past that. So when we get there and you want to go home with me, ask me again. I consent to that. Okay. My thing goes to anybody who is on the receiving end of these no's. You know, if somebody is not enthusiastically saying yes and explicitly consenting to that, then you have no business being in their business. You know, if somebody is shy and they are unable to say no, if they did not say yes, then that's a no. Leave it. There are so many people out there who are your type. Go explore with those people who are ready to say yes to you. If somebody is not ready to say yes to you, what's your business pushing them? And this aspect of pursuing, you know, she's playing hard to get, or he's playing hard to get, but you know, he said yes, but he meant, he said no, but he meant yes. No. We all understand what no means. No means I wanted to stop right here, you know, then stop it. If somebody, you'd rather be on the point of being told you are a wuss for not pushing further than be on the receiving end of this was sexual harassment and you pushed it, you know. Then and I will go back over and over again to changing culture, because this is the culture where as a lady I am not allowed to say yes too soon because then I am viewed as cheap. Trust me, if I want to go out with you, I will say yes. If I don't want to go out with you, I will say no. And especially, I will address this to men as a heterosexual woman. If a woman says no, respect that no. You know, if they want to go out with you, they will consent to it.
Yeah. Wendy, what's your views on this?
Consent. Consent, consent, consent. If it's a no, it's a no. If it's a yes, it's a yes. Period. No more conversation, no more nothing.
Yeah.
If I say yes, I have said yes. If I've said no, I have said no. There's no mixed signals from there. Whatever I have said, stick by it, accept it, and I'll appreciate it. That's all.
Okay. We've talked a lot about policies in the workplace. But if we are to be honest with ourselves, these policies have helped no one in most cases. So I want to talk about, how to make policies work. What other step do we need to take other than just having policies and say, okay, at our workplace we have the sexual harassment policy, this is what it states, but people are being sexually harassed and nothing is being done. So what else can we do other than just having policies? Jay?
Now, policies will still work if we have them, but there are things that we need to address when you have these policies. As an organization, we need now to involve the employees in making some of the policies, because they are the direct beneficiary of the policies. And being the direct beneficiaries, there are some things that in terms of when involve them, they'll be able to have some suggestions or opinions that we might capture in the policies that will really help the organization. So we need to capture scenarios that are practical in terms of what the environment they are working in. Then the second thing, we need to have a calendar on training on policies. If it's sexual policy, we need sexual harassment policy, we need to talk about it more oftenly so that we have people updated on the knowledge on sexual harassment policy. The third thing we need to do is to communicate very oftenly in terms of have these policies accessible to the employees. We can have them maybe at the workplace. We can have a point where we have some of the, we get some of the sections from the policies and have them pinned in specific areas of the organization, so that we just have them being like reminders to everyone in the organization. Then the fourth thing we need to do is we have an outlined process to handle the complaints. And when you're handling these complaints, the reporting procedure, when you're handling these, we also need now also to involve employees on how best they feel that they are not victimized when they are presenting these complaints to the organization. So the complaint procedure should be very transparent and confidential, just to help the employees not be victimized and not affect their performance. Okay. Yeah.
Confidential, because that's also another aspect that makes people not report. Because you report and then all of a sudden everyone knows you were sexually harassed, and then they ask, how did you allow and agree to that? And they start blaming you all over again, and the embarrassment that comes with that. So confidentiality is really key. Yeah. I think as well as, so after investigation has been done, you figured out, okay, this individual was sexually harassed. What's next? How do you help them?
Now, as I've said, that any operations in terms of disciplinary issues, in terms of any matter that is arising in an organization, we should always be guided on by the policy that we have in the organization. So because these policies are the documents that we have for evidence in terms, in case someone sues the organization for wrongful dismissal. So the policies should outline the steps to be taken when an investigation is done. And if it means a warning letter, we'll follow the policy. So we should have all this captured in the policy, just to guide us on what we need to do with the extent of the harassment. Maybe if it's an assault, that will it's a criminal case. Now the organization will let it be handled by the law enforcement officers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the victim?
For the victim now, possibly we do the counseling. Most organizations have a mental health department where now they, if for those that do not have, they have consultants that will come occasionally just to have guide the victims that have been affected and talk about mental health wellness to the organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'd like us to start ending the conversation, but before we do, I'd like to hear from you, Wendy and Lucy as well. We're talking about workplace sexual harassment, and I'd like us to have a focus at the victim when we are having this conversation, for someone who's watching us, who has undergone through this, or they are a victim, what can you tell them, Wendy?
One, never be afraid to report someone. He or she is not your family, he or she is not, you're not related to this person. So put yourself in a place whereby it's just you, yourself, me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
So put yourself in a scenario of that. And accept help, no matter how tough it is. There are reasons why we have counseling sessions, there are reasons why we have therapy, there are reasons why we have shoulders to lean on. We, most of the time right now, people say friends aren't there. You have a close person that you normally share with these things. If you feel like you need a support system, talk to this person. Vent out, let out the issue. Talk, let everything out, so that emotionally and mentally you'll start healing. Healing is a process. It takes time. People get traumatized. People get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And as you talk, you let loose of something slowly by slowly. So as a victim of this scenario, have someone to talk to, have someone to express this issue to. Seek medical attention. By medical attention, I mean counseling. Go to a counselor, speak to this person, let out the issue, start healing one step at a time.
Yeah.
With time, everything will be. It won't go back 100% normal, but at least 8% of your soul will be at peace. Because the moment you let things go, other doors open. And don't let the next place you're going, the incident to happen. Let this place you have been be a lesson unto that. So the next place you go, you'll be able, if such an incident happens again, you'll be able to report and stand up for yourself as a victim.
Okay. Well, thanks. Lucy?
Well, my message to all survivors all the time is that it's not your fault. It wasn't your fault. If it's happening right now, it's not your fault. If it happens in the future, it is not your fault. And it is not your job to protect yourself from somebody else's decisions, because somebody chooses to harass you. Somebody chooses to take advantage of you. And it is not your job to protect yourself from somebody else's actions. We can take precautions, sure. You can choose not to work late because maybe that's the time that it happens. But whether or not you take these precautions, if somebody chooses to take advantage of you, they will find a way and means, because they are in a position of power. So for whatever reason this person took advantage of you, it is not your fault. It is great to find psychosocial support. It is great to find counseling, to talk to friends and family. It is great to do that because it helps you put things into perspective. But if you're talking to people who blame you for it, get out of that space. It's not your fault.
Right.
Yeah.
Jay, I'd like to conclude this conversation with you very briefly, because you're a HR consultant and you've talked about policies. What would be advice to companies? How should their policy framework look like when it comes to sexual harassment?
What I'd like to say is that I think HR, we hold the core part of the organization. We are like the backbone of the organization. And our input is very important in any organization, and it affects the performance of the organization. So we should have transparent policy that is accessible to everyone in the organization, whether they are interns, whether they are senior employees, or whether they are junior employees. I think we have these policies accessible to them, then have a training on occasionally, maybe quarterly, so that we can have these employees updated on the policies and support those victims that are sexually harassed by keeping the information confidential and helping the investigation, taking the necessary action. Okay. Yeah.
All right. As we come to a conclusion of this, do we ever see a time where we'd have 0 cases of sexual harassment in the workplace?
That's our prayer in the future. Because policies are there for you to follow as a person. Go there. People are, as my colleague said right now, inflammation is so high. So people are basically trying to make ends meet. Stop going there for another agenda. You're in work premise, do your job. After job hours, leave. So follow the policies and everything will be fine. And all this starts from the upper hands. So from the managers, from the CEOs, from the supervisors. Before we initiate these things to the interns, make sure you as a person, as a manager, as a CEO, as a supervisor of this intern, you're able to follow the protocol. Don't come and share something that you're not following as it is. So our future goal is that if it's not 100% zero, let it be around 2. It's fine. Even 1, it's fine. Because we can't say it will end 0. It won't. But follow as long as the policies are there and you as a person, you as a superior person can follow it. It's not a hard thing for the minor people to follow.
Right. I think I'd like to say that living in a very patriarchal and capitalistic system and working as a person who is contributing to the smashing of this system, it is our goal that at the end of the day, maybe not in my lifetime, but in the lifetimes to come, if I have worked in an organization that no employee has ever complained of sexual harassment, and where that environment has been created, I believe that it is something that is achievable. It is not beyond reach, you know, but we have to have the tough conversations. We have to take the tough actions. We have to understand how the system that we exist in is oppressive to all of us, you know, and when that happens, then we are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Thank you all for coming today. Walemba J, I'm being told say something about that, you know.
Now, what I would like to say, my parting shot would be that I would like to encourage organizations. The organizations that run privately, they don't have the HR services. I think they should consider hiring someone just maybe to train employees on this, so that they can be well aware about them. And for HR people, I think I can talk to the HR people as well. I think it's high time that
Are you looking to grow your business? CAC TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@cactv.org or call 011 00 90 647.
We start a program that helps us to go on a journey to get to understand the ministers who are now retired, who spent most of their life in the pulpit and now are in the pew listening to others continue with the work of ministry.
I have retired from now employment, the formal employment, but I have not expired.
We get onto a journey to understand their experiences and the things that they have gone through, the journey of their lives that can be helpful to those of us that are still in active ministry. And we can tap from their wealth of experience so that we can know how to continue with the work of ministry.
Even the ministers we have today, I would like them to know there is today and tomorrow.
Greetings to all of you who watch CAC TV programs. I said you Christian love and peace from all the CAC family and the entire ministry. Since God gave us this CAC TV, which is a very competent means of reaching people in and outside Kenya, CAC TV is undoubtedly giving good and effective services to many people wherever our signal reaches. It is evident that God is at work through CAC TV. We therefore need your loving support through your continuous prayers. We also appeal passionately for your generous financial support to help us be on air as the Lord will require us to do and to be. Please plan to give regularly.
Hi, hello. Alright, welcome back to CAC Mid-Morning with me, Faith Kaulu. Right about now, we jump right into the trending on the web segment. And without further ado, let's get into it. Now, we begin with this story. Is Dunstan Omari everybody's lawyer? Because he just represented Eric Omondi at the Milimani Law Courts after protesting outside the parliament against the high cost of living. Eric Omondi and 16 others were later released on a 10,000 Kenya shillings bail, each of them, with their lawyer, Dunstan Omari, representing them. Of course, recently we saw him as well representing former Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and many others. So the question we pose today is Dunstan Omari everybody's lawyer?
Criminalization of defending people. We are together with this. I'm feeling for them because it is a criminalization even for advocates' work.
Speaking about the hustle mod na vijana kutolala, 22-year-old TikToker Aziad Nasenya has landed a stick job after being appointed by Honorable Ababu Namwamba as a member of the Creatives Technical Committee. Well, I guess it's about time I have to be more active on my TikTok, because where next it could be me getting a government appointment. Anyway, other content creators as well and influencers were also appointed. Kate the actress and songstress Wahu Kagwe were not left behind. Speaking about songstress Wahu Kagwe, now are women really their own worst enemies? Musician Wahu posted a picture of herself at a committee meeting at the Talanta Hela initiative, and the post was flooded by body-shaming comments. Sad to say, most of her trolls are women. For crying out loud, the woman just had a baby. Now, luckily for Wahu, she has a supportive daughter, and Tumiso, her daughter, stepped up to defend her mother from the trolls. Backward and wayward culture that I think it's about time Kenyans, we need to let that go. It's none of your business how anyone looks like, unless of course it affects you. If it doesn't, mind your own business. Speaking about another bad culture is that Unilever and Finlay's ever wondered what really the cost of tea is? Now, Finlay's and Unilever are British-operated tea farms that have been exposed after the managers and supervisors were accused of sexually harassing women for jobs and even infecting them with HIV. Now, there are people paying the price for you to have your daily dose of tea. Listen, we've just had a conversation on workplace sexual harassment, and conclusion is it's not your fault that you are being sexually harassed and that you should report it. As a victim, by all means, you should report it and you should be believed, because if it's true and it's happening, you should be believed. So do not keep quiet anymore. If you're going through that, do not hide, do not consent. So you have all rights to report anyone who sexually harasses you at your workplace, and action will be taken. If not, reach out to us and we'll be able to bring limelight to that. But that's a very sad state. If you haven't yet watched that documentary, please do. It's available on YouTube. Very sorry and sad state right there. Now, moving on, they say seeing is believing. Former Governor Mike Sonko has requested Prophet Awor to heal the Iyala MP David Sankok to authenticate his miracles. Or is healing only for the poor in our country? Well, new challenge right there for Prophet Awor. I think for us is to wait, because time will tell whether Prophet Awor will take up that challenge or not. We are yet to see. But that is all we had for you today right here on Trending on the Web segment. My name is Faith Kaulu. I think it's about time we ended the program here. It has been amazing having you on board. Thank you so much for keeping me company from 10 a.m. till now. We've had an amazing discussion as well on workplace sexual harassment. In studio with me was Lucy Nyakio, Wendy Akinyi, as well as Walemba J. Catch the conversation if you haven't on our social media pages, that is Facebook and YouTube at CAC TV Kenya. Till next time, my name is Faith Kaulu. Keep watching CAC TV. Goodbye.